what did it feel like physically after expanding 2 MSEs fully? This was a record level expansion. Like, why would this guy do this to himself? What the hell? Why are there so many gaps? Do you feel like this affected your daily life beyond your smile?
Ask my girlfriend.
That was good. That was funny. Hi, my name's Jolly. I'm here with Dean. We're gonna go over a few questions that a lot of people have about Dean and his treatment journey and see how this goes. So tell me about yourself. What led you to wanting expansion? Like what, tell me about Dean.
Well, growing up, I could always tell, with my face, my bite, maybe even my breathing, although I didn't have a reference point to suggest that maybe my breathing wasn't as good as it could have been. Like most people, I'm able to look at myself intuitively and say like, hey, maybe something's off, but maybe not have the specific knowledge to know exactly what the best approach is to fix that. And furthermore, maybe not know what's possible. So I feel lucky in a lot of ways that I was at an age in a situation where I was able to find out that adult expansion was a possibility and then commit to it.
When you first found out about the benefits of adult skeletal expansion, what was your first thought?
Well, my first thought was, my maxilla and my upper palate's very, very narrow. And I just said, let's fix that, let's make space, let's save all these teeth. And I think that's the reason I went forward with the 2 full MSEs. I just had this sort of determination that just said, go for it.
So was it more looks or was it more health? Like when you obviously discovered the functionality of a skeletal of an expander, there's 2 benefits.
Mm-hmm.
There's the expansion for your looks, and then there's the expansion for your airway. Tell me about what was the number one reason or motivating factor to expand? Was it the airway benefits or was it the looks benefits? What was your plan?
Well, my plan from the beginning was fix my teeth. I had needed orthodontic work for a very long time. So you could say what led me to this process was sort of an aesthetic point of view. And then when I started expanding, my plan from there was just let's make the upper jaw really big and then let's make the mandible fit after that's all done. So as I was expanding, I can never tell one day versus another turning whether my breathing is ideal or could even be better.
I see.
So I was just thinking, let's optimize the maxilla width. We'll get the mandible to fit at a later date. And whatever breathing benefits come along, I'm happy to accept. It's been a 4-year journey. I was 21 when I started. I found out about it because I was looking into alternatives. When I saw an orthodontist locally, they told me that really the only way out for me, given how crowded my bite was to pull 8 teeth. So that would be upper and lower premolars and then wisdoms. I just found out about adult expansion online. It was kind of nascent at that point. I know there are a lot of devices now on the market, but at the moment, MSE had really only a few providers. So I reached out to Dr. Nuaz, who was sort of my most local provider, and he gave free consults, which was really nice. So we managed to have a really good conversation. And I knew for a long time I wanted to fix my teeth. Just, I sort of had like a classic sort of crooked bite. Really, I used to think about how I'd kind of fix it because my lower teeth jetted out forward a lot and I really didn't have a lot of space. So I used to kind of imagine how this would work and think about like how creative an orthodontist might have to be to fix it properly. Doctors really didn't tell me anything about my airway at all. When I met with my orthodontist locally, he said that his process was airway informed, and he used the phrase face, airway, bite as sort of his philosophy for optimization, but he never really mentioned anything about the airway specifically.
What does airway informed
Well, to me, it would mean, don't do anything that might threaten the airway health, but this is a guy who wanted to pull teeth, right? So we know that when you're extracting premolars, when you're making the space smaller, you are threatening the airway. And he did want me to get a surgery in the future, but I just felt like there had to be a more progressive treatment approach than what he was proposing.
So speaking on that, how did breathing feel before expansion compared to where you are now after expanding to MSEs fully?
Yeah, so I never really thought of myself as someone who had trouble breathing before necessarily. As far as I know, I breathe through my nose most of the time during the day. I would sometimes have to mouth breathe during like exertion or stretching, things like that. And to me, that felt pretty normal. That seemed like a very common experience. So it didn't really occur to me that maybe I should be able to yawn through my nose, for instance. That wasn't something that really I'd heard that people do.
So how was your sleep before MSE expansion compared to how it is now?
My sleep is infinitely better now. It's significant, yes. I really had chronic fatigue before I expanded. I knew with skeletal expansion that the airway benefits could be great for that. But when I was sleeping poorly for years, I went to doctors, frankly, and none of them said anything about airway. No one knew what the hell was going on.
Each MSE is, what, 12 millimeters, if I'm not mistaken? So you expanded to full MSEs. So when people hear you expanded 24 millimeters and think, wow, that sounds insane, what was your reaction when you heard that number?
Well, I knew I was expanding to full 12 millimeter MSEs, but I think what a lot of people miss is that MSE is not 100% skeletally efficient. So my actual expansion was 16 millimeters.
16 millimeters?
Yes.
Okay. Wow, so that's just pure bone.
Pure bone, yes.
Wow.
And 16 millimeters sounds like a lot of millimeters, but that's less than an inch.
Did you know you were going to expand that much?
I think when I was most of the way through the first MSE, doctors knew I was a Jafari and I were kind of taking a look and we said, hey, you know, the buccal corridors still aren't filled out, even with the dental flare that occurs. It's just, it looked like I had some more room to go. So we said we're going to do another.
Did you realize at the time that this was a record level expansion?
I considered the possibility, but I don't know if I realized it at the time. I don't know if I'm the first to MSE expansion. There could be many more out there.
Right.
I think I was just the first who shared it.
Right. What did it feel like physically expanding?
You know, when I was looking into this, I read a lot of people's experiences who said that when the suture split, it was sort of like a immediate, like cathartic release. I never really noticed that. I would sort of keep an eye on it, look for the diastema, which is the split between the front incisors, which is sort of like the telltale sign that your suture has split and expansion going forward will be skeletal. But I never really had like a singular moment that felt like things had changed. It was very gradual.
What was the hardest part of the expansion process?
It really wasn't that bad. There would be maybe pain for a day when they installed it, pain for a day when they removed one. I think the hardest part is it gives you a slight lisp when you're speaking, but other than that, really was not a big deal.
During your expansion, did you know you were going for double jaw surgery?
Well, I never went for double jaw surgery.
Well, that you were planning to go for double jaw surgery. Are you still planning to go?
I think that's what I need. Yeah, it's mostly like correcting I've got to get into the fact that before I expanded, I had my condyles were basically destroying themselves because I didn't have enough space.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that until Dr. Nuaz was looking at my scans.
He's a radiologist.
Yeah, so until I saw him, no one knew any of this was happening.
Wow.
So
he really saved your condyles.
I'd say so, yes.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting that like a lot of people now, I feel like the consensus is MARPE has asymmetry. MARPE, creates this ugly gap when you could just go get jaw surgery, it'd be healed in a few months, and be over with it. So, but as you dive deeper into the benefits between MARPE and jaw surgery, you begin to realize that MARPE has its own benefits with the transverse expansion for nasal breathing that you don't necessarily get with jaw surgery. So I feel like a lot of people will praise jaw surgery for being the end-all be-all resolution to these airway problems, right? Because most of these people are interested in looks. They don't necessarily care that much about their health while they're taking peptides, while they're bone smashing, while they're willing to do these ridiculous things that are potentially giving them concussions and fracturing the skull, but they draw the line at MARPE that gives them better breathing and potentially increases their lifespan.
Whenever people are considering like a multi-piece upper jaw surgery, like Laporte, I always try to advise them to just get a MARPE first before getting jaw surgery. And there are several reasons for that. The first is that if you're just widening the lower maxilla and not the upper, you're not only missing out on a lot of aesthetic benefit, which for many people is why they want to pursue jaw surgery anyway, but also you're threatening the opportunity to really widen the upper airway, and perhaps even if you're doing a big expansion, expanding the lower margin of your maxilla beyond the margins of the upper, and you could actually create a worse aesthetic result.
A lot of people are really interested in looking better without necessarily focusing on the health or the airway side of expansion or of looking better. What is one thing that you would tell those people?
Well, you asked for one thing, and I think really the one thing I'd say is a thing I've been telling people for a long time, which is your health is your physical appearance. When you're looking at someone, you say like, hey, that's an attractive person, that's an unattractive person. You really want to ask yourself, why do I feel this way? And it's because I think humans are just intuitively making a heuristic judgment about someone. Is that person healthy? Is that person unhealthy? And so I think when you can make yourself healthy, when you're as healthy as you can be, you're just going to look better as a consequence.
During the expansion process, gaps occur. And during your expansion, there were a lot of gaps as a byproduct of splitting the mid-palatal suture. At any point during your expansion, would you look in the mirror and be like, whoa, or be like, wow, like how is it's a touchy subject, obviously, but.
No, I mean, it's not touchy. My teeth were terrible. I'm not ashamed of that. I knew that. You know, I would go out and I met people and you'd have a laugh about it, but it just comes with the territory. Before I expanded, my teeth were one on top of the other. I just didn't have that split in the middle. So it's not like my teeth weren't crooked before and I ruined them. It's just my teeth were crooked and then I expanded them out and showed them off. But I think I'm getting them fixed right now.
If someone were to see, without knowing what MARPE is, if someone were to see that video, see this video or this photo, and look at it and say, what the hell? Like, why would this guy do this to himself? Why, I guess the first question I would ask if I didn't know anything about it is why are there so many gaps?
No, I mean, that's fair. I think most of the people I was interacting with on a daily basis just saw like my huge overbite and my big blown out teeth. They didn't know what MARPE was, I imagine. So I just think it's something you have to be willing to tolerate temporarily if you just want that permanent benefit for the rest of your life.
And do people really need to max out to MSEs to get the benefits or the looks benefits that you obtained?
To get the same ones I obtained, maybe you might have to. There are certainly more, subtle approaches you can take. You don't have to expand much. I know people who are doing just very small expansions just to nose breathe. They can't breathe normally. But when I was pushing forward, I said, I'm doing this, let's just go all the way. So if you want to really go all the way I did, if you want the Dean effect, the Skolo effect, if you're about as narrow as me or narrower when you start, maybe you have to do 2 expansions.
Is there anything you would have done differently or do you regret anything?
It's hard to say I regret. It's just power of hindsight saying there are more powerful expanders on the market, more skeletally efficient expanders on the market. But I think I made the best decisions I could with the information I had, and I chose the best doctors I could.
So walk me through the process. You got the two expanders, and you did, remind me, MSDO or IMDO?
IMDO.
IMDO. So that's, explain what that is.
They make cuts between the first and second molars on the lower, and they place a distractor. And so you're kind of cranking a device and expanding the mandible, sort of like an MSE, but it's essentially both lateral and sagittal, because when you are expanding the mandible, it's like a V shape. So you're going to get some widening in the posterior as you're expanding forward.
How was that process for you?
Certainly more involved than MSE, but I just think distraction in general, or slow turn expansion in general, is frankly the way forward in the future.
Did you notice post-expansion any hormonal changes, let's say in muscle mass, or if they increased airway? Did anything change for you beneficially?
It's hard to attribute anything to the expansion specifically, but I know that after expansion, a lot of things were happening. I've been told like my hair looks better, things like that. In terms of numbers, I hadn't really hit the gym before expanding, so I don't know how much of this is just starting to work out, but I mean, my testosterone level was tripled.
What'd you say?
Yeah,
You said you said your testosterone levels tripled?
It's an approximation, a close one, but yes.
That's insane.
Yes.
All from like better air, breathing, essentially. That's not normal.
As far as I know, sure, that was a part of it.
Right. People can judge someone off of one photo, but they don't know that that same person just basically tripled their testosterone levels.
Yeah, I think, there are studies suggesting that when you start working out, your testosterone can kind of increase afterwards to sort of fill in, your needs, and I was lifting pretty heavy, but I don't think I could have if I didn't have the airway, so it's all related.
How did it feel seeing that photo taken out of context and shared online?
I mean, I was never upset about it. I was just maybe disappointed because if you looked at the surrounding context of me posting those photos, it was more for educational purposes, like, hey, here's a really big expansion. I never implied in any way that I was going to leave it like that, or that was a great way to look. It was just me sort of sharing what I thought was an interesting process.
Yeah.
So I guess I was disappointed at the end of the day.
I see. What do you wish people understood about orthodontic treatment timelines?
Well, I think most people go into orthodontic treatment knowing that, hey, it's a process that might be in braces, Invisalign for over a year, or whatever it might be. I guess what's different about MARPE is you're not just going in and taking crooked teeth and immediately making them better. You kind of have to be willing to, break that vase a little more first so that you can put it together even more beautifully.
Did you expect people to judge the process without actually seeing the outcome?
Without seeing the outcome, sure, I expected them to judge it, and I was actually judged quite a bit. I at least wanted people to consider the fact that this wasn't the outcome, and that I was going forward, and that there was a plan in mind. A lot of people accused Dr. Nuaz of doing this ridiculous, unhealthy thing, and I was going to be ruined for the rest of my life. And I don't know, I wake up every day, I don't feel ruined. I feel pretty good.
Yeah, and you look pretty good too.
I appreciate it.
You definitely ascended from that mid to, and the mid process does not equal the final result.
Absolutely not.
When did things start to come together?
Things really came together after the IMDO. That's when I sort of filled out my mandible to fit that expanded upper. And I think that's kind of the point where a lot of people I knew personally, people in my family, said, maybe this guy had a point.
Right. So how do you feel about your smile now?
I feel like it's a work in progress, just like it was a work in progress before. I think it certainly shows off a little better now, but I'm not done.
How do you feel about your face? Well, what do you mean by if you're not done? What's the next step for you?
I've got about a year of Invisalign left, probably exactly a year, 52 weeks. And then after that, my midline's off. I had damage to my condyles because I was so constricted. So I need to get some of that asymmetry fixed, that height restored. There are many things I could do. There are many things I'm probably going to do. Really, until my bite's fixed more, it's hard to provide an exact plan. But just like with the MSE, you know, I'm midway through a process and there is a light at the end of this tunnel. And I'm going to look at my options and pick whatever plan is best.
Ideally, like in this best case scenario, like what are your next steps? Like what would you do next?
Ideal perfect world, I might do a midline distraction for my mandible.
Explain what that is.
It's an MSDO, so they're going to make a cut between the first and second incisor on the lower jaw, and then they would place a MSE-like device just in the midline.
To expand the mandible
Laterally,
base.
yes.
Okay, I see. Has anyone who hasn't seen you in years commented on the change?
I think most of the people I'm around on a daily basis have known me for a long time. I think if someone hasn't seen me in years, they just wouldn't recognize me. I've actually been in that situation a few times. But most of the people I know have seen me sort of throughout this process. I mean, they're thrilled. It's kind of obvious that I look better now, certainly, than I did mid-expansion. And I think in a global universal sense, I just look better than I did before.
If someone saw you now and then saw that old photo, what would they think?
They'd probably think I had a good case of Invisalign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you notice changes in focus, energy, or mental clarity post-expansion?
I think I did. Yeah, no, I mean, just the things I felt like I wanted to do after expansion. Like, I never hit the gym before I expanded. I never really seriously played chess or anything like that. It's just, I feel like my hobbies, my creativity, my determination to really be a more complete man, better person, after expansion, this really snowballed into a lot of things.
Do you feel like this affected your daily life beyond your smile?
Ask my girlfriend.
That was good. That was funny. So why does expansion look so dramatic mid-treatment?
I think it might just be a symptom of the device I used, which is MSE, which is frankly not used in that many cases anymore, at least in Dr. Muaz's practice. But MSE has some molar arms that are fixed and rigid to the device. So some of that expansion, maybe 30–40% of it was just dental. So it kind of just blew those teeth out, tipped them out. And I knew that when this was fixed, when things were brought together, it would be a much more natural looking arch.
What's actually happening biologically when the gap appears?
So that gap is something called a diastema, and when you expand a skeletal expander, you're hopefully just getting a really parallel expansion of these two halves. And that gap is sort of just the empty space in the midline where new bone is going to deposit. So what you're doing is opening up the nasal floor, opening up your airway, and then you're actually creating whole new bone in your palate.
Why do screenshots from treatment often mislead people?
I don't think the screenshots misled people. I think taking them out of context and posting them online misled people. It was designed to mislead people. Or maybe I don't have to say that. I'm not hostile to anybody. I think everyone is having a good laugh, but
They didn't understand what your end goal was,
no,
so who cares what they think?
I do.
Good. I would be distraught.
Yeah, but I think if they saw me in person, they wouldn't recognize me as that guy with the crazy teeth from the video anyway.
Right,
So
exactly.
I haven't worried about it.
Yeah, shouldn't be.
Sure.
Is 24 millimeters of expansion common?
Absolutely not common. And that number is kind of arbitrary. That's just 2 MSEs. You know, if I had 16 millimeter screws, would I have done 32 millimeters of expansion? Like, I don't know. I just thought, before I started expanding, we were sort of on the same page about, my doctors and I had a really wide soft tissue profile. Like, my cheeks at the time were kind of jowly. Even now, I'm a little chubby, I think, in the face. And then I had this really narrow bite and then this really wide sort of soft tissue envelope. And I said, hey, let's fill it out. Let's fix this. And so 24 millimeters is kind of what I had access to. I can't even say for sure that's what it took. You know, if I give you a big smile now, I still have buccal corridors on the side. And that's due to sort of an interesting phenomenon with expansion where when you take 2 steps forward skeletally, the sort of soft tissue envelope is going to follow a bit and then take like 1 step forward. So it's like you're chasing a target that's always moving a little bit. And it gets harder to catch the more you expand.
Right.
And you can catch it eventually. I'm certainly much closer to that target than I was originally, but the target didn't remain static.
What are the long-term goals of airway-centered orthodontics?
I think the long-term goal of airway-centered orthodontics is optimal health and not just a great smile, but a great bite while saving all your teeth. You don't have to pull teeth to get a great smile. You don't have to put up with like shaving bits off your teeth or pulling out perfectly healthy adult teeth when you can just have it all.
What would you say to someone who's scared to start treatment because of how they'll look temporarily?
Well, braces don't look good, right? Orthodontic attachments don't look great, even if you have Invisalign. Really, if you're interested in starting treatment, no matter what you do, there's going to be a period of time where you kind of have your awkward phase, but it's transitional. I just think if you want to look your best, feel your best, be your healthiest long term, you have to be willing to make that sacrifice.
If someone only saw that viral photo, what would you want them to know?
I just want them to know that I didn't destroy myself. This was part of a very carefully considered process. The results look just like a mess. It looks like there was no planning involved, but expansion is sort of something you can't predict. It's going to have an effect on you, on your bite, your teeth. I couldn't say for certain how I was going to look post-expansion, but we knew just when we were done, we're going to take a scan, see where all those individual little segments, those teeth are sitting, and we're just going to put it back together. That was, we knew from the beginning we were going to have to do. Whether it looked cleaner or not, it wasn't really important to me.
Do you regret documenting this process publicly, like online?
I documented this to help people, and I don't regret helping people, but in hindsight, I might not have shared this.
To you, was all of this worth it to you?
Yes.
Why?
Maybe a picture spoke louder than words there, I'm not sure.
You feel better, look better,
Yes.
So you would do this again?
If I did it again, I'd probably get a newer expander, but yes, I'd do this again.
Could you, for me, take a deep breath and describe how it feels?
To me, it's just natural at this point. It's just breathing. I guess it feels easy. A lot of people before expanding, they describe a lot of resistance, a lot of challenge breathing through the nose. To me, it's just easy as that.
So you've seen those viral magnet nasal strips where they kind of expand temporarily the nose. Some people pay, a subscription to experience maybe half of where you are right now.
Oh, they're lucky if it's 5%. If your nasal cavity is very narrow, if you have enlarged turbinates maybe, and you're not getting air in there, if you put a magnet just on your nose and widen your nostrils a bit, what is that going to do? That's not doing anything. I know people get some benefit, and maybe those people actually have a external nasal collapse, or there are many issues that might cause poor sleep, but I think if you need expansion, you need expansion. There's no excuse. There's no way around it.
Looking at you, I wouldn't even be able to tell that you've gotten expansion at all.
Well, I think that kind of leads into the fact that I didn't do this to look expanded. I did this to fill out my face. And I think my face could accommodate it. And so I just did what felt would look best for me.
What is the biggest difference that you feel now compared to before you expanded?
Oh, I mean, knowing what I know now, my TMJ was terrible. My condyles were mechanically destroying themselves. You know, I think a lot of the habits I had were just really like compensatory to overcome the fact that my bite was not healthy and my airways was not healthy.
What's something people don't see online that you experience?
I got to think about that question anyway. What is something people don't see online that I experience? I don't know. You have any thoughts?
The breathing, the clarity, the lack of mental fog, things like that, I would say. You can't see that in a photo. You can't feel that in video.
Did you ever get expanded?
I did get expansion.
How did it make you feel?
I felt instantly better. Instantly. I would say after like the month or 2 months of expansion, and then I actually continued expanding about a year or so after my last turn.
You got a second.
Well, I had it in there as it was fusing, right? I wasn't satisfied with the level of oxygen I was getting.
Yeah. So you don't look expanded either. That's the thing. It's like,
It's wild.
yeah.
It's
So probably your cheekbones are a lot bigger, but like
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where a lot of people get MSC wrong, is they think that if you don't expand, or if you do expand, you're gonna look a certain way, or you're gonna look asymmetrical, and I just don't think that's the case. I think if you expand properly and you get to a bite quick enough,
Sure.
I think so many people hyperfixate on asymmetry and all the bad parts of skeletal expansion that they fail to realize that it is an effective means to increase your nasal breathing and feel better and therefore look better.
I mean, processes are improving. I mean, asymmetry becomes less and less of a risk every day. I had some mild asymmetry, but if you can tell, you can tell. But I don't think it's something that, even knowing the asymmetry I had now, it would have stopped me. Most of the asymmetry, if you're looking at my face, is just pre-existing, because if I didn't expand, I was going to destroy my mandible.
What's something people don't see online that you experienced during expansion?
Well, expansion is really in only one sense a visual process, right? It can't tell you how it's going to make you feel. If you have sleep apnea, I think there are people who maybe have a sagittally healthy bite, but they could have like upper airway resistance or even like full-blown sleep apnea just due to a transverse deficiency. So I think for some people, expansion alone could cure their sleep apnea, right? I think in a lot of cases you might need a little bit more than that, but there are plenty of people out there who could be immeasurably improved, have a better life just by expanding. When people were posting this online, they weren't just trying to fool with me. I think they were really kind of going after my orthodontist, Dr. Nuaz, and his partner, Dr. Jafari. And I would just say that if you're on the East Coast, like, these are the guys you want to go to. They made me feel so comfortable through the whole process, and they were just amazing to work with. And I think there's no reason to go to anyone else.
W.